bite this morning of our music director for GHCC Global. Okay, so Pastor Kenny, thank you for blessing God's people. All right. And you know, today is sweeter in a different way because I have ginger in the house. Yesterday was our wedding anniversary. And then I remember like yesterday when this girl fell for me. Now I know if I have many enemies or many friends. I said this girl fell for me, fell for fine boy. I thought I have a lot of supporter in this house. Okay, tell them, did you not fall for me? Sister Annie, the way you are laughing, I suspect that laughter. Okay, please help me celebrate this wonderful girl. She decided to follow me when I was a risk to myself. You know, when they say, will you marry yourself? And I say, Abba, do you want to destroy my future? Thank you for saying yes. All right, this morning we are going on a journey, and it's a journey of parenting. It's a journey of parenting. And we are looking at a subject titled Parenting with Purpose, or Parenting Purposefully. What sometimes I like to call intentional parenting. People have reached out to myself and my wife from different quarters asking us to write a book on parenting. And by God's grace, we hopefully will do something. And I believe that more than ever before, we are in a season that every Christian must learn how to parent. And let me quickly warn you that when we talk about parenting, we are not talking about only giving birth or raising your own biological child alone. Because whenever we talk about parenting, the only thing that comes to the mind of most people has to do with their own children, biological. Let me quickly say to you that in the course of your life, there are some of you here that God will trust you enough to bring other people's children to you for you to parent for him. And I'll give you a very practical example. And that's the man called Eli. He technically didn't succeed on his own biological children, but you must give it to him on how he raised Samuel. Samuel was brought to Eli from when Samuel was just about 2 years old. And the Bible records that the mother of Samuel never came to Samuel except once in a year. And Samuel turned out differently. And to tell you that there was a strong bond between Samuel and Eli, when God called Samuel, he ran to Eli. To further confirm that strong bond, when God said something that was bad about Eli, Samuel couldn't hold it back. He opened to Eli, told Eli what it was. Is to reveal to you that they had a very strong relationship. Forget it, yes, Samuel might not have done well. Eli might not have gotten results with his own children, biological. But you cannot take it from him that he parented Samuel well. So there is a measure of confidence that God had in Eli that could make God to require that a 2-year-old child should be brought to him so that he could raise the 2-year-old child. Take your mind a little back to our Lord Jesus Christ. God trusted Joseph enough to have allowed Joseph to take the physical front when it comes to parenting Jesus. God could have chosen not to bring Joseph on the scene and it would have just been a single parent, single mother in Mary. But if you check every major decision about Jesus when he was younger as a baby was given to Joseph. The details were given to Joseph. Take up the child, run away from this place, do this, do this. Joseph was taking all of those, information as it relates to parenting Jesus. To God, parenting is a very, very strong issue. And every Christian must learn to pay attention to it. And I must also warn that it's not only until when you start giving birth to children or when you get married. It's amazing that sometimes God could give you a parental responsibility in a dysfunctional environment. And that's why sociologists have found out that there are some children who became like parents quite early. So we call their system a child-headed family, where the young child, maybe as the first son or first daughter, becomes the coordinator of everybody who parents all the other children, who will see to it that every other person goes well. I was talking to a woman not too long ago, and she told me, I raised all my younger ones. Said, we lost my mother quite early, we lost my father quite early, so I had to grow up. And then I raised my younger ones. I was the one that trained them in school and all of that. Truly, they were all respected her because she actually was the one who nursed everybody to school. She didn't have much education, but she ensured that all our younger ones had much education. So she became a parent quite early. I was listening to Mama Adeboye some time ago, and she talked about how her mother died quite early, and the father, because he loved the mother so much, had to rely on her as a teenager. So she had to be like the mother. She had to be like the wife for the father, mother for the younger ones, had to take care of everybody in the house. So she was given that responsibility quite early. Now, the challenge, however, is that a lot of people are thrown in the situation where life makes them parents, but they don't have the knowledge, the wisdom for navigating. Because probably nobody sat them down to teach them about parenting. Probably they didn't study parenting 101, parenting 201. So they just do it as it comes. And even those who have their own biological children, many don't have the necessary knowledge. They just run it anyhow. And I'm going to show you from the scripture the mind of God about parenting. And then we are going to then look at practical steps to take on this matter. So I'd like you to follow me to one of the most interesting scripture, and that is Malachi. I'm sure most of you, once I mention Malachi, what probably comes to your mind is like, maybe the pastor wants to talk about tithe. Because that's the only thing you see there. But Malachi is rich. Malachi chapter 2, and I like to read verse 15. Are you there? Malachi chapter 2. Let's speak it from verse 14. But my anchor is verse 15. And I'm more interested. I'll read the Good News translation later. But let's start with the Amplified translation. And then I will stay on the Good News Translation. And it reads this way. Yet you ask, why does he reject it? Because the Lord was witness to the covenant made at your marriage between you and the wife of your youth, against whom you have dealt treacherously and to whom you are faithless. Yet she is your companion and the wife of your covenant made by your marriage vow. And did not God make you and your wife one flesh? Did not one make you and preserve your spirit alive? And why did God make you two one? Can you finish it for me? Because he sought a godly offspring from your union. He sought godly offspring from your union. But I like us to read Good News so that will then explain the meaning. Verse 15. Are you there? Okay, let's read. Didn't God make you one body and spirit with her? That's your wife. What was his purpose in this? It was that you should have children who are what? Who are what? Truly God's people. Now the concept here, let's look up. What God is looking at when he's looking at a husband and a wife coming together, his intention is beyond them just being husband and wife. His intention is that he's looking for them to raise children that God can say, these are my own. And what does it mean to have children that God can say, these are my own? It means to have children that are balanced, that are whole. They are whole. You know, in psychology, we say there are different dimensions to development. And of course, when you have spiritual insight into it, you also say, so ordinarily psychology will tell you that there are 4 dimensions of development. And then if you have the spiritual, it makes it 5. So they say there is the cognitive domain, which is that part of your mind, the brain. There is the affective domain, which is the emotions. There is the psychosocial, psychomotor, that's physical. That's a physical domain. And then there is the psychosocial domain, which has to do with relationship with people. So those 4 domains are what they talk about in psychology. But you have spiritual domain to it to make it complete. Are we together? So you have 5 domains. That means 5 aspects of an individual, they all must grow. Now, if all of those 5 aspects do not grow, that individual will not be balanced. Somebody can be very intelligent, the mind is good, but emotionally not there. So you see, he could be a professor, he could have PhD, but his relational ability, the way he interacts with people, poor. Are you following me at all now? And then somebody can actually be able to relate very well, interact with people very well, but not very intelligent, not very sound. As far as God is concerned, every aspect of your life, from physical to spiritual to emotional to your intellectual side, he wants them to be sound so that God's Spirit can use you well. You know, God is really looking for people that will represent him. So God's desire is that your life will represent him. So when he's looking at a marriage, he wants them to raise children that can be used by him to represent himself. That's his intention. So he said, God's intention is that he's looking for your marriage to produce whole children, godly children, useful children. And when you extend that a little bit, God's desire is that when he's seeing children around you, he's looking for you to partner with him to be able to raise those children. I've established for you that they don't have to be your biological children. We've seen the case of Jesus. We've seen the case of Eli. Are you following me at all? So, in other words, God looks at you and is desiring that He could find you useful in the process of raising for Him individuals from a child that will become highly useful in a child. Okay, let's go a step further. We'll take some more scripture. In book of Proverbs chapter 22, Proverbs, I'm going back to my amplified translation. Okay? Proverbs chapter 22. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the scripture I want to read. Verse 6. Are you there? Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. And it goes this way: train up a child in the way he should go, and in keeping with his individual gifts or bends. And when he is old, oh, oh, oh. Okay, so here the Bible is saying when you have a child, mold the child, work on the child, structure the child, shape the child in the direction that that child can find consistent expression. That's what I mean by way you should go. And then when that child develops into an adult stage, that child will be stable. That's what I mean by he will not depart from it. It means that child will be stable. I'm sure you are aware of individuals that you know who are not stable. They're just not stable. It's either they are not stable emotionally, or they are not stable mentally, or they are not stable in relating with people. They are not stable. Even physically, they are not stable. I'm sure you have seen people who are so unstable that they can't sit in one place for too long. They are just everywhere. And then when you see them, they are so scattered, so disorganized. Many times as a result of the fact that they were not trained properly. Are you following me at all now? It's not very difficult to know an adult that was not trained while he was a child. Because if a child is not trained appropriately, shaped appropriately, when that individual grows up to adulthood, it will show in the way they live life. I wrote a book some time ago. It's called Reparenting Yourself When Your Parents Fail in Their Role. And I think that as I talk this morning, you might also see areas where your parents didn't do well. Instead of pointing accusing finger to them, at them, it is important to learn it and reparent yourself, because there is something called reparenting yourself. All that we are saying that parents should do are essentially responsibility of shaping, responsibility of formation. And it is very possible that your parents fail to do what they should do at your formative years. You know, the reason why it is necessary to do it while the child is a child is that those are formative years between the age 0 and 24, 25. They are your formative years. Anything that is not done within those times takes maybe a little harder to be able to imbibe. That's why when it is put in quite early, it becomes a lifestyle. For example, to train yourself to wake up early will be more difficult when you are an adult than when you are a child. If you train a child to wake up early, it becomes a lifestyle. When a child becomes adult, who doesn't wake up, who has not been trained to wake up early, it becomes a struggle to do. Are you following me at all now? That's why it must be done while the person is a child. And so I'm saying that even if your parent failed, you can learn from some of the things we are going to be sharing, and then you use them to tune yourself. Now, there are fundamentals that God expects to be taught, and those fundamentals are what I'm going to be talking about. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Are you there? If you are not there, say wait for me. All right. Waiting for you. Are you there now? I won't wait for you for too long. Deuteronomy chapter 6. So are you there now? All right, good. Now, I'd like us to read from verse. Okay, let's speak from verse 4. Let's speak from verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, the only Lord. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your entire being and with all your minds. And these words which I am commanding you this day shall be first in your own minds and heart. First in your own minds and heart. Let's read verse 7 together. You shall and teach them and impress them diligently upon the minds and the hearts of your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. Wow. So God was trying to teach the children of Israel through the mouth of Moses how to parent children. And he said, I have given you basics that you need. And those basics are called the commandments of God, the laws of God, and all of that. And then he said, I want you to teach them to your children. But he said, first, sharpen them. Let them be structured in a way that will be interesting, and teach them to your children. And he talked about how to do it. So when you are lying down, when you are walking, when you are sitting down, and all of that. So let's define what parenting is, and then we'll take our cue from there. So parenting is a process of raising, nurturing, guiding, and supporting a child from infancy to adulthood. I repeat, parenting is a process of raising, nurturing, guiding, and supporting a child from infancy to adulthood. If you look at that definition, very simple. It involves the following: you raise, you nurture, you guide, you support. Hello. You raise, you nurture, you guide, and you support. And all of this that you are doing as responsibility, you are doing it towards a child, towards from babyhood, towards a child. And then you are helping that child to come to adulthood. Let me turn on. So when you redefine parenting, therefore, you can then say philosophically that parenting is that process through which you guide, you support a child into autonomy and personal integrity. Are you following me, Antonio? You know, the adulthood, from infancy to adulthood. It means he was a child, but you are taking him or her to adulthood. In between means parenting. When the person is getting to adulthood, we call that stage the stage of maturity, where that person is whole, where that person has attained a point of full functional capacity. At that point where that person is an adult, he is expected to be responsible. Are you following me, Antonio? So if you are to define parenting from a philosophical standpoint of view, then you will say that it's a process of guiding a child from being dependent to that state of autonomy, where that person has his own personal integrity developed. That is all the internal components that makes him who he is. He has developed some ethics, some values, and all of that. So he has his own integrity developed, and then he is able as a person to contribute to the society. He becomes more responsible in the society. He has his wholeness, and then he's contributing to society. If you look at it from the psychological perspective, I talk about philosophy because philosophy simply helps you to see how life runs. So if we are defining parenting from how life runs, you will say it's a process of guiding, nurturing, supporting a child from infancy to adulthood, in which you help the person to move to autonomy, integrity, and wholeness. That is a matured person. But if you look at it from psychology, which has to do with the way human beings' mind and behavior are defined, you will say parenting is a process of guiding, nurturing, and providing support that helps an individual develop cognitively, emotionally, and behaviorally. Are you following me, Antonio? That is, you guide, you nurture, you support a child's mental development, emotional development, behavioral development. Are you following me, Antonio? When you go sociological, that is that aspect that deal with human relations, human interactions, then you come with this idea that parenting is a process of guiding, supporting, nurturing a child from infancy to adulthood by passing on values, social norms, essentials that individual requires to be socially relevant. If you match all of these together, I'm saying the same thing. That is, you are helping an individual to grow in their mind, to grow in their feelings, to grow in the way they behave, so that they can come to that point where they are whole, where they are matured, where they are responsible, and they can fit into the society appropriately as a contributor, not a parasite. Are you following me, Antonio? Now, all of these are what is in the mind of God when he's thinking of parenting. He's looking of whole children. He's looking for godly children, children who will come to the society, and we will call them blessing, because they are going to contribute meaningfully. They are going to affect wherever they find themselves effectively. Now, there are 4 pillars to parenting. That 4 cardinal pillars that are required for anybody to parent well. Number 1 is vision. Being clear about what you want to build out of that child. What you want to come out of the child. Number 2 is values. What are the things you want to train that child with to help the child to know what are the important things in life? Many of us, when we're growing up, especially if you have parents that are good and godly, parents that actually did their job. Some of us, our parents didn't do their job effectively well, but we have some of us that our parents did very well. And I'm sure probably they must have taught you values in terms of what is important. If your parents did a good job, they probably would teach you that money is good, but there are many things that are more important than money. So how you make money is more important than the money itself. They will teach you those values. But when you have parents who didn't teach properly, who didn't understand it, you will see children who like money more than any other thing. In fact, the way they talk, they say, I beg, leave that thing. I have to make money or forget anything. Because they really were not taught any value. So values are important because as a person who is going to parent, shape a child, you yourself must know what are the things that are important or things that are not important. So we said vision, values, and then voices. What is said? Words are powerful. In fact, 80 to 90% of what you use to shape a child are spoken words. What are the things that are being said? You can destroy the mental development of a child by what you say. You can shatter the emotions of a child by what you say. Are you following me at all now? So the voices, the things that are being voiced out in the earrings of a child. Thank you. The reason being that words, they paint pictures in the mind. They paint images. As you're seated here now, if I tell you, just listen to me and pay attention. Yesterday night, I went to the airport and I was taken through the boarding side, and then I was to enter the plane. And the plane that was to carry us was painted white and blue. They wrote ARIK on it. And so we got to the door and we're about to enter. Who do you think I will see first? When I get to the door. Who will I see first? I caught those of you who are not following me. Now, what happens is that when you pay attention to words, they start painting pictures, either static or motion, in your mind. In the same way, when somebody looks at you and say, you are foolish, you are stupid, get out, you don't know anything. The more they say that to you, the more pictures are painted in your mind. Are you following? Even when you choose to say, I am not Olodubuku, I am not Oloshi, you will still find out that in itself is that it's effort to reject. So it has to paint a picture in your mind. Are you following me at all now? And that's why you find out that people that have spoken, they have been were raised in an environment, they spoke negative to them a lot, and they were able to survive it. Most often than not, they are rebellious in their mind. They are raised up in an environment where authority figures in their life kept speaking negativity to them, and they had to develop in their mind to respond back and all of that. When they grow up, it becomes a pattern that they react towards authority, except God helps them to be able to regulate. Because words paint pictures, and those pictures will drive your life over time. So the voices that children are hearing matters because the whole of the universe was created by words. And God has structured it in such a way that things will be maintained by words. So human beings are groomed by words. Take for example. Okay, good. My wife is a medical doctor. She became a consultant. How? Words. Words that were spoken and written. Words. She listened and listened and listened and read some in books for 6 years. And then they kept bringing exams to her. And she passes those exams according to what she has heard and what she has read. And as she passed, she moved to the next stage. Moved to the next stage. And then when she finished the partner one, they hand over a certificate. Now you are qualified as a medical doctor. It's not her stature. It's not as she's growing physically. No. It's as she's growing by words spoken to her. That means you can grow by words spoken to you. Do you get the logic now? I'm taking my time on this because it helps you to be more careful when you are parenting people. When you are parenting children, either your children, they are not your children, you've got to be intentional in your use of words. Many of our parents were so careless that they destroy us because they spoke by how they felt. And one of the strategies of the devil is to steer you up to speak unadvisedly towards children you are supposed to parent. So you say things that you are not supposed to say because you are angry, and you damage things that you are supposed to build in the process. Okay, so number 4 is the community. I said the 4 pillars of parenting. 1 is the vision. 2 is value system. 3, and then 4, community. The environment, the society, the community that you build really matter. On our wedding anniversary yesterday, my first son posted on his status, said, my parents shielded us from playing with children in the neighborhood, but they provided themselves as our friend. And that struck me. I just remember truly. And why did we do that? The neighborhood that we are in, we saw children just playing around, rough play and all that. And then based on the vision that we have of the kind of children we wanted, we knew exposing them to that set of people will bring in pollution. So we screen them. Now, many parents also have the same intention, but they are careless in the process. When you shield a child from a community, you must provide another community. Did you hear what I've said? No child grows up healthily in a vacuum. So I'm sure you must have heard things like this. Me, I'm gonna get inside. Oh. In those days, we call them beware of doggy. That's beware of dog. So their father and their mother would say, don't go out, sit down, sit down. And then you said they should be watching TV. And then they watch TV, after a point they get tired. But one of the things you don't are damaging something in them. Their social skills are being destroyed. Now, for our children, one of the things he didn't write there that I can supply now is that at a particular point I saw that they needed a community. So I started a club called Hope Next Children Exposure. Oh, yeah. Pastor Lucas was aware. I think at a point in time, he also helped me to teach them artistical things. So I started, and it was because of them. So I went to communities where there are doctors, lawyers, and I spoke to them, printed a nice handbill, and told them that I'm starting a club. So they asked, what will you be doing in a club? I said, we take them on excursion, we take them extra curricular activities. And many of them say, oh, yes, we also want something like that for our children. So they donated their children for me. And then they will pay a token. And the reason why I started it was because of my children. I just wanted something different that would give them healthy community. And then I had some of them children of bankers, some of them children of lawyers, you know. And then I'll create time for them. Was doing it every Saturday. I'll take them to recreational environment. Then a place open in our environment called Zainabab. And then I'll take them to Zainabab. Sometimes I'll take them to Ife. When I was getting busier, I called other people to come and help me assist, because as they were growing, we began to feed different things to it. And then I remember some time ago, I went somewhere and a young man accosted me and was greeting me. Can't really recollect. And he said, no, I used to come to your club. And then mentioned his parent. And I was like, wow. I knew that they needed a community, because the truth is that every one of us need a community. Even you as an adult now, you need a community. Hello? So you must find your company. Either you call it community or you call it company, you are talking about the same thing. So when you are raising children, you must provide them healthy community, healthy company. Surround them with peers, age mates, people that are in their age range that are clean. Because if you do not, they are the ones that will corrupt your children. Are you following me, Antonio? All right. I'll still talk about some of the things you must do. So, but what are the things that hinder effective parenting? I'll just rush through them. Okay, no. Before I do that, let me quickly Let me quickly do something that a psychologist did some time ago by the name Erickson. Erickson did age grading to help us see how human beings develop. And I'm going to focus on the important one, which is from 0 to 25. And Erickson said, from age 0 to 2, children, these are the foundation for trust. That's where the real foundation for a child's life is laid. And at this foundational stage is trust versus mistrust. This is when the child learns to trust or not to trust people. In fact, the child can trust or not trust God based on how the parents handle the child at this stage from age 0 to 2. And one of the things he noted is that parent must provide physical affection. Because at this point, the children want to feel loved. They want attention. They want to be cared for. And that's the reason why they cry. I'm sure some time ago, not too long ago, one of my babies cried there, and everybody's wondering, why is this baby crying? You may be shocked that there's nothing wrong with him. He just wants attention. Are you following me until now? And Erickson said, at that stage, they need probably to be coddled. They need to be attention. Of course, there are times you need to still help them to regulate it. But they need to be given that attention because those are the times they will either feel loved or feel rejected. Are you following me until now? Because at that time, that's what their brain is processing, that they are loved or not. I remember sometimes Mrs. Alabi will carry one of our twin. When she carries the boy, then the girl look for some time. Maybe the girl is with somebody else or with the father and then sees that this boy has been enjoying this mommy's arm and is very close to milk factory. What is happening that I am here? Then she says, what she wants is the mother's attention. And then she doesn't care that the weight of the brother is on the mother. The mother must still carry her. Now, if the mother doesn't do that, something is affected here. Yes, not necessarily that the mother will do that every time, but as many times as possible, the mother has to do that to help her to grow elderly. Am I saying something at all? So as you are raising children in that age, you've got to know that that's what they need, and it has to be supplied. They need attention and all of that. Number 2, it says from 2 to 6, that's the early childhood. It said at that point, they have that sense of autonomy versus shame. At this point, they try to want to get to say, who am I? I can stand alone. They want to try things by themselves. That's when they tell you, leave me, I want to do it. They want to eat by themselves. They want to touch something by themselves. They're just trying to show that I can be something, I can do something. And at that stage, he's saying they are trying to be independent. They are trying, for every human being, you move from dependence to independence to independence. And if you are not helped appropriately, you can be fixated on one. There are people who have been independent all their life, and I've seen people at their 60s who are still complaining that their mommy or their daddy or their uncle is not giving them something because they have a sense of entitlement. They are so dependent on people. And then I've also seen people that they are so independent that they don't care about other people. It's also a problem. Because the elder way is to understand that people need you and you need people. Come on, look at somebody by your side and say, people need you and you need people. Okay, say to them, I need you just as you need me. All right, good. So no man is an island to himself. Hello? Now, if parents discourage the children at that point, because at this point they are exploring. They're exploring. They're trying new things. They're just making attempts. You see them, a 4-year-old or 5-year-old might try to say he's trying to cook. They're just trying to make attempts. They observe you, they see what you are doing, so they want to do their own. Now, if you are not very careful as a parent, you shut them down. Now, at that point where you shut them down, they can begin to feel a sense of shame. And that can discourage them from being creative or having initiative as they grow up. And some of us that are here, that's exactly what our parents did to us. You remember those times that I used to go and play and you go to carry sand. And then you use sand, you say, I'm cooking. Just pretend as if you know be low-key. I beg, leave that thing. You carry sand, they say, what are you doing? They say, I'm cooking. That's what is happening to you. You're cooking. You will not see a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy do that. But at this age, that's what they will be doing. They're just trying to say they can, even though the way they will do it is raw. And what Erickson advised is that at this point, you encourage them. You don't shout them down. Yes, you might try to correct them. You might show them some measure of boundary. You might redirect their effort. But it is not to shout them down or pull them down. Then, number 3 is what we call the middle age, which is 6 to 11. You see, at this point, is industry versus inferiority. At this point, the child wants to show, it's like an upgrade of the other one. The child wants to show some measure of competence, wants to show he's responsible. That child wants to achieve something. At the other time, that one is trying to explore. This one wants to achieve something. This one wants to, and that's why at this age, they are more competitive. They want to pass exam in school. They want to show that they are this. They just want something new. What's the responsibility or role of parent at this stage? Is to involve them in problem solving because you develop their capacity. When there are problems, you don't solve the problem absolutely. Get them involved. You want to put their mind to action, to test. And whenever they achieve something, you want to celebrate them. You want to clap for them. But there's a caveat here. You have to monitor who their friends are. Because friends start to have influence on them from this age. From 6 to 11 upward. The influence of friends seem to be. Because don't forget that they really want to be something. They want to achieve. They want to. It's at this point they begin to decide who they associate with. They want to associate with people who they perceive that are making it, who they perceive are doing. So if it's the bad boys that they see, they'll go with those bad boys. And it's at this point that parents are advised to be extra careful and ensure they put a little more screening structure. Then you move from there to 12 to 18, which is adolescent. And Erickson said, and other psychologists said, it's at this point that there is role confusion. Identity versus role confusion. Because it's a point that the young person is trying to now discover their real self. That's why at this point, they usually have problem with their parents. Usually parents who have children within this age bracket, if they don't understand them, they will ultimately make an enemy out of them. It is at this stage that children just walk out of the house to start living alone. It's at this stage that children hatred for either their father or their mother. Because they are making up their own mind at this stage. They are making up their own decision. They will argue with you at this stage. They will challenge your opinions at this stage. You will say some things, they will say no. They will test the waters with you just to see. And if you're not very careful as a parent, you can allow your ego to get in the middle. And because your ego gets in the middle, you feel like, it's me. You know the way most of our parents do this. Hey, me more beer. And then they start shouting, they start fighting, and all that. There's trouble everywhere. But what's his recommendation? Recommendation of experts says it's at this stage that you become emotionally involved and listen to them. At this stage, you guide and don't control them. What you provide is essentially guidance, not controlling them. At this stage, you affirm them. In other words, you say things that show that you believe in them. I remember when my boys were at this stage, I did a lot. And your greatest instrument at this stage is our words. You've got to know how to use your words, say the right thing at the right time, and be emotionally present with them. It's not that when they are talking to you, your mind is absent. You are listening to what they are saying and what they are not saying. And you are involved with them. You ask them questions. And then you are there to supply some answers. And where you don't have answers, don't fake it that you have answers. Let them know that you don't have answers. Am I making sense at all? I'm sure you are aware of some of the things your father and your mother told you that when they are talking, you already know that, Mommy will mock me. All right. Then the fourth one is young adulthood from 19 to 25. And then expert noted that it's at this point they are trying to craft a direction for their lives. They're trying to decide on their career, the career choice. There's a lot of turbulence at this point because they don't know where to go sometimes. Some are blessed, they quickly know where they want, direction they want to face. Some, because of many options, especially if they are multi-talented, they are gifted. You find out today, he says, I want to be an accountant. Say, no, I want to be a lawyer. Next tomorrow, not because he's really confused, but he has capacity to do them. There are children that are multi-talented. They can do 4 things or 5 things, and they will succeed in them. So the problem they are having is, which one should I concentrate on? Are you following me at all now? It's at this point they also have the issue of solidifying their values. The things that you have taught them, maybe as a father or as a mother, these are the times they want to decide if they want to follow them or not. So they test the values. It's at this point that you see young people actually try to drink. From a Christian home, you tell you that I drank, or I tasted cigarettes, or something like that. It's like they are checking some of the values. You told them when they were young, you just handed it over to them. But they will begin to ask themselves, especially from when they are adolescent, but this point is stronger because they now feel they are matured. They now feel they are grown. You cannot be, when they are still adolescent, there's still a struggle, and that's the time they are thinking in their mind, it's because I'm under your roof. It's because because I'm still eating your food. It's because, but by the time they are at this level, they're probably in the university or just graduated, and so they feel they own their space, they own their world. So they are testing. Some of you are already concording because you know that. They are testing it. Okay, is this thing that mommy said, is it correct? This thing that daddy said, is it correct? And all that. And some of them, they can throw it away. It's at this point that many Christian children backslide. Because when the parents are not very careful with the inputs as they are bringing it, when they get to this point, the children start testing it. And some of the parents are so careless that they don't know that at this point, this child is no longer a child. He's now a young adult. So you cannot impose your decision like before. Then you hear some Christian especially if they are pastors or deacons or deaconess, you hear them say, Omata bini Christiani. No, but they fún mi, le buy pe mi je. And then they start fighting, start making noise. No. You are a Christian. Me, I am a pastor. You will not destroy my calling. That thing no go work. It no go work. Because at that stage, they don't feel they are obligated to obey you. Are you still with me at all? And the church is also not helping matters. It's at that time we will not gather. Did you see the daughter of Deacon so and so? They didn't train that child. They didn't train that child. Oh, their child is not well trained. Shh. Make sure. Just make sure, don't keep quiet. Because that child is going through crisis. It just needs to be helped. Are you following me at all now? What is called not training a child well is when you are not there to make the right input. That's not training child well. It's not that the child is going through crisis, then you say the child is not well trained. No. When a child doesn't have the right input, when the child needs it, at this stage, adolescent and this stage, they are most turbulent for any individual. Depending on the personality. Some people have very hardgoing personality and it will boom, escalate. Some people are very quiet, but the quietness is even what made it worse. Because they will be doing the thing and nobody knows. Come like this. Just be quiet in church. You don't shock Igbo. Amen? Amen. And then he's looking at pastor with teen high. Which rubbish is on this say? If not be my leg, I go come here. I don't know if you come in. I know my leg. We just all manner of things is going on in them. Meanwhile, what should be done is the right input. Are we together? All right. At this point, they also have emotional issue, and that's where they can either develop emotional maturity, or because at this point, a lot is playing on in terms of their emotions and how they control it, how they handle it. It's at this point that the issue of marriage, romantic relationship becomes solidified. They decide who they want to marry or who they do not want to marry. And especially if they are at this point, from teenage years to this point, if they are now disappointed, if it's a female and disappointed by 1, 2, 3, she can be wayward and just make up her mind and say, men are scam. And if it's a male and then probably 1, 2, 3 girls have disappointed, say, well, I go show them the way they show me. Except there's an adult there that will help to nurture him. Okay? So what are the inputs? The input of parent at that point is to actually serve as support system. Not necessarily controlling them and making decisions for them. But you are just there to solidarize with them, to let them know that you are there for them. You allow them to make their decisions, but you are just saying, I'm there for you. I'll be praying along with you. And then you supply wisdom where necessary. Supply wisdom where necessary. At this stage, most of the things that can be done is prayer and counsel. You go outside that jurisdiction, you become their enemy. They run away from you completely. So let's quickly run through what are the things that hinder effective parenting, and then I will close on how to parent well. Many parents fail, number one, because of their inconsistency. You are not who you are in the open as you are in the secret. I remember some time ago, a young man walked up to me, the son of a pastor father, pastor mother, and then just left their church and said, wanted to be coming to our church. And so I was curious. So I called him aside and said, why will you leave your dad's and mom's church? For some time, he kept telling me, Pastor, that's a long story. Pastor, that's a long story. One day, finally, he sat me down and said, Pastor, okay, let's talk. He said, you've been asking me why did I leave my father and mother? He said, I want to ask you, is this Bible really real? I said, yes. Is everything real? I said, yes. He said, I've been coming, I've been hearing you, I like what you are saying, but I'm just wondering, is it very real? I said, yes. Then he looked at me. He said, then why are my dad and my mom not practicing it? So I was shocked. So I sat down. I said, what do you mean? He said, I see my dad and mom lie openly on the altar. He said, each time I see them, I'm wondering in my mind. He said, the two of them are cat and dog at home, but when they come to church, they behave as if everything is well. He said, many times they fought, abuse themselves before they come to church. But when they come to church, they package. And when we get back home, the thing is still hot. So what's... Please, can you take... Okay, praise God. So what's wrong with that young man is essentially that the parents are inconsistent. Praise the Lord. They were inconsistent. And because they were inconsistent, it was affecting him. So many parents are not able to be effective because they are inconsistent. Number two, some are very overprotective. When parents are overprotective, you want to shield your child from everything. There are times children will make mistakes and just allow them to make their mistakes. And you cannot shield them from everything. So when parents are trying to protect their children, overly protective, they get into trouble. Some parents, is because they are not bonding with their children. They are not creating bond. They are not building bond. Some is because of unrealistic expectation. The expectation they have of their children, expecting your child to be first in class all the time, when there are other geniuses in the class. And then every time you come and beat the child, why are you not first? The person that came first, does she have 2 heads? Yes, the person doesn't have 2 heads. But do you know who that child is? Have you been there before? Glory to God. Okay, sometimes when parents use fear or shame as their tool for parenting, some parents are very careless. The way they will, they use fear and shame as a weapon to make the child conform. They never know that you destroy a child when you use fear or shame, when you use it too much. Once in a while, it could be used, but using fear and shame as weapon all the time damages something in a child. And that's why some children become rebellious. They become very ardent because they not say, the worst that will happen is this. I remember one woman will always say to her daughter, and then after a while, the girl grew ardent. And the woman actually lived up to the expectation, to her threat. There are times she will see the girl talk to a man. She doesn't want to know if they are friends or thereabout. She just grabs her. Brrr, and the girl will be walking naked, half naked sometimes, and she doesn't care. Guess what? You don't need a soothsayer to tell you. That girl became wayward. Because what the mother was using was not the right weapon. When you are using the weapon of fear or shame, I'm not sure some of you, probably your dad had used it before. Let's say your dad is beating you all the time. After some time, you become ticking. So you develop a strategy. Okay, some of you have been there before. All right. Okay. Let me leave that. Let me leave the things that you didn't do right. Let's focus on what you can do right. Now, if you are going to parent purposefully, it starts with a vision. You must be clear in your mind. What is God showing you about that child? Remember, I didn't say, what are you seeing about that child? I said, what is God showing you? Many parents have forgotten that their children are essentially gifts that God gave you to watch over and guide. The owner of that child is God. So you can't craft a life for the child. Only God can craft a life. I challenge every one of you listening to me in our different centers. If you have not gotten something God is telling you about your children, I beg you, get into prayer. Take some time fasting. Because you can only direct a child in the direction God has shown you. If you don't see the direction, you will have problem. But if the direction is clear, it is easier. If you check major children that God used, there is always something their parents knew. Are you here? Major children in the scriptures that God used, that from childhood you can see God, their parents knew something about them. Let's start with Isaac. Abraham knew about Isaac, knew what it is about Isaac. Do you want to talk about Jacob? Isaac knew even while Jacob was in the womb. You want to talk about the 12? Jacob knew them. What he was saying was not that he was cursing them or giving this into the other. It is what he knew in the spirit. That's why when he was to pray for the sons, even the sons of Joseph, he crossed his hands. He didn't bless according to genealogy. He blessed according to destiny. When Joseph said, my father, he was not seeing well. Oh. Yet, he still... And then Joseph said, Daddy, This is the elders. You should say, no, no, it will be great, but this one will be greater. Not because he preferred one child above the other. It's their destiny he was reeling out. Am I making sense at all now? There is a destiny crafted for each child. Hello? And it doesn't mean that one is superior to the other. It just means that every man has a unique journey. And every wise parent wants to know, God, what are you saying about this child? You remember when Manoah's wife saw the angel, that's the mother of Samson? Manoah had to ask. He said, praise God. Please make sure that I don't have. All right. So you'll find out that Manoah had to ask, in what manner shall we order the life of this child? Because he understood that if they will do a good job, they must order that child appropriately. All right? You want to talk about Jesus? You want to talk about John? Mention every child has a predestination. There is where God wants to lead the person. Your job as a parent is a partner with God. So you owe it to yourself and to the child to get the template from God. And I'm telling you, more than you will ask God, God is willing to tell you. He will show you. If you talk to God, God, Tai is my son, Kenny is my daughter. What's your... God will tell you, for Tai, this is what I plan. For Kenny, this is what I plan. All our sons, I sought God's face for them. My wife did her own separately. And God said about them. As they grow, I tell them different stages. I might even give them to means what exactly is the problem, please? Is it me that I don't understand? All right. My last son was with me some time ago, and I showed him what I wrote 12, 15 years ago about him. I just brought it out to him. Sometimes they are getting to experience what God told me they will experience. Then I'll bring it out. One day for my first son, I snapped it and sent it to him in school. He said, ah! I said, yes, that's what God said. It's happening to you now. So that's why we are careful what we are doing with you. Are you following me at all now? Because you must order those children right. All right. Then the second thing is to serve as the guiding star, be a role model. Because children, they learn by what they see much more than what you say. So either your biological children or children that God has sent to you, show them example by your conduct. Now, this is easier said than done. What I mean by that is that let them be able to see you in the secret and in the open, and there's no disparity. Are you following me at all now? And that means a lot of hard work on yourself. Because there are many things that you will feel like doing out of order, that if you remember that doing them will destroy your children, you will be more careful. Right? Number 3, connect with them and bond. There's nothing that opens the heart of a child more than love. I see the way my wife connects with our boys. It's like they are 5 and 6. And so there is hardly anything they will find difficult to tell their mom. That they say when boys grow, they are careful about. There's something they can't tell their mom. Are you following me at all now? And I'm not jealous. I'm not, because I also have my place. The place I have in their life is more, they see me as Pillar of strength. They see me as when the road don't dabaru, daddy is there. There must be something daddy will say that will get me out of this. Are you following me at all now? So you must build a bond with them. When they have very tough issues in their mind, then they discuss with me. Say, Daddy, we need to talk. And then they share their minds. I say, okay, that one. If I don't have an answer, I say, give me some time, let me pray. If I have an answer, I'll tell them immediately. I'm just saying that for any child that God has given you, and it's not when they grow up that you start building the bond. You build the bond from when they are young, from when they are small. I remember those days I used to play with them. We used to do what we call pillow. We'll be chasing ourselves around the house. I'll be throwing pillow to them. They'll be throwing pillow at me. They will climb me. And I deliberately created that time out for them when they were young. Because I also know the time will come that I will not be there to do it. Is somebody with me at all now? All right. Then you teach them about themselves, to identify themselves, to know themselves, to describe their purpose. So you are teaching them about identity. You see, from that time that your child is about 6, start to help them to know themselves a little. Most people think children are children. You know, I was giving you those stages. If you go back to 6 to 12, I said something about them. From that point, start helping them to solidify their uniqueness. Because if you help them to strengthen their uniqueness, they will grow up with inferiority complex. A majority of problems among people is complex problem, inferiority complex problem. When people feel they are inferior to others, in their mind, they either fight them or become subservient to them. So most of the fights you find that you do or some other people do, if you check it real, is that somewhere you are either jealous or envious. And it's complex, inferiority complex thing that caused it. So train them to know themselves and be comfortable with who they are without feeling inferior to other people. It takes a lot of talking to them. It takes a lot of praising their strength so that they can then become more confident in themselves. Then you nurture them curiosity and passion. You see, when children are growing, there are times they just want to know. They ask a lot of questions. There is a part of each one of us that is a researcher, wants to know new things. And as a parent, you must encourage that part in your children, that they must be curious. And as they are getting curious, there are things they would like to do. They will be energetic at doing their passion. You want to encourage their passion, fan their passion. Probably give them money sometimes in that area so that they can be strengthened. Number, what are we? Okay. I can't do all the 10. Let me do 7 and then I'll stop. So which one do I make as 7? Okay, let me use this as 7. Make efforts to understand their world and engage them in solving problems. Let me explain what I mean. The world of young people is different from the world of adults. Hello? And if you remember, the way many of our parents handled us, they handled us as if we are inferior, we don't have sense. Most of the pop culture that you are seeing today among our Gen Zs and Alpha generation that is appearing like a rebellion. Please follow me gently. I'd like you to follow me so that you don't make the mistake. Most of what you see among the Gen Zs and Alpha generation that is looking like they are very rebellious, they are very rude, is a technical reaction to the old model of parenting. The old model of parenting claims and arrogates to parents sole wisdom. They have an impression that they are the sole custodian of all knowledge. So, an adult is talking to you. You're not supposed to make. It talks to you as if he's the Alpha and Omega. In fact, he is the one that owns the storehouse of knowledge. Now, unfortunately for most adults, they do not know that the internet has opened up the prison house of knowledge so that no adult can take the key and lock it. So you have young people who have in their brain 50 years more knowledge than their parents. So when their parent is talking, they are talking with consciousness of age, but knowledge level is a child. The child is listening. Consciousness, she's young. But in terms of knowledge, she's 70 years old. So when you are talking, you are not communicating and looking and saying, what nonsense is mommy saying? The mommy say, me, come to be here before they warn you. He is olden days. You know those days now, they'll say, what have you seen? What have you seen? Because those days, knowledge is tied only to experience. Today, internet will give you the experience and the knowledge. Are you with me at all now? It will paint case scenarios to you, not even with AI generation. To paint all possible. So when adults are speaking, you've got to know that children are now also, they now have access to information. So you tread cautiously. You must first enter their world. What are they thinking in that realm? I must not deceive you when my sons come home, including the last one. When they come home, I'm asking them what's raining, what's raining. You know, I'm not very there on Twitter. But they have all kinds of information. So when they talk, I will just say, hey, I'll deliberately just throw one topic up and then say, hey, so what did they say about that one on Twitter? At the learn. I'm using scope to learn. Because I have found out that if you are not in people's world, you cannot help them. So I enter their world. What are they thinking in that world? What goes on in their mind? Are you following me at all now? The first time I will know about Grok, it's my sons. They just came on one day and said, hey, Grok, you know, if I ask, Mr. Emmanuel, do you know ChatGPT? ChatGPT. Wait. Madam, you dey laugh am. Now you are going to come to. What is Grok? Where is Grok found? Grok, yes, Grok. Now human being or na animal? Hello, are we talking? On a daily basis, new information is entering. And younger people, because they are fresh, they may not know the old thing. They know the new thing. Are you following me at all now? So what does an adult do? Try to understand their world. What are they thinking in their mind, in their generation? And then don't be monopolists of knowledge. Invite them to solve problems. Can I be honest with you? My presence on social media became more active because my first son said so. I belong to the old school, holy thou, man of God. The only account I had was Facebook. And on my Facebook, once a while, I just post it because I just feel distraction. Well, me, a whole man of God, I will now be spending time on social media. No, the attention should be for holy things. I didn't know that I was losing audience. What do I mean by that? My main audience are not only reserved in the four walls of church or physical gathering I was. My audience are meant to be scattered all over, including people I have not met. So I was supposed to use social media as a tool. I didn't know. He took him. And they said, no, Daddy, we do this, we do this. So with the media team, they come together, blah, blah, blah. They said, we do this. And then in no time. So today I enter places and people tell me, we know you. Last week I went to see the commissioner of finance in my district and the director of finance in the ministry, the director of admin in that ministry. Just look at me. He said, you are Segun Oduebo. You are a pastor. I first said, how did you know me? I'm meeting you for the first time. I said, no, good morning, Yoni. Say, I see you every time. I just kept my mouth shut. But if that boy did not encourage me, we probably will not get there. Am I talking to you at all now? So you are not a monopolist of knowledge. You encourage young people, bring them to solve problems, and allow them in areas where they have strength. They may be 15, they may be 16. Allow them in the area that they have strength. One of the things parents must learn today is that delayed maturity can no longer work now. Children are maturing at a faster age than it was before. Then, before you are seen as matured, you don't clock 30. Now, a child can get relatively mature at 16. Might just not be mature fully in mind in terms of mental development. That is, the mind physically might not have developed fully grown. But that child might be matured enough, able to function relatively the way an adult will function because of by virtue of what he has interacted with, the level of information and other things that have been put in. And once you start seeing maturity, you must grant those children some measure of power, measure of autonomy. I'm not saying you release them to go and be doing their own, but I'm saying that the more the child shows I am mentally stable, emotionally stable, and I can behave myself, the more power you give them, the more you involve them in activities and all of that. And that's how they grow up to become more responsible adults. And your job will just be guiding until they get there. I'd like you to pray a simple prayer. Lord, grant me grace to serve as an effective parent. That all the children you will send to me, because I've just told you, it's not only about your biological children. Dr. D, please lead us in the prayer.